Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the former world champion Terran in the blue. It's Micro Jackson, ByuN. Standing in his way though, D-Mawa, Showtime, The Wall. A best of 5 Protoss versus Terran on the new balance patch, where so many things change, but so many of them still stay the same. Just like me begging you to like and maybe even subscribe. And Jimmy, what are we at? Jimmy, what are... 1,457 likes on this video, on this cast. And I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways. I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. Marine. ByuN starts things off with a Marine first, allowing him to get a little bit of a quicker factory so he can go back to the future with the Cyclone, because the Cyclone has been reverted to the same version we saw about 2 years ago. The single target anti-air, well, anti-everything sniper. Requires a tech lab, costs a bit more, does a lot more damage, but can't be built so much en masse. Nope, he's not going Cyclone. He's got a third command center. And he just slapped it. Well, we are on El Dorado, so not too surprising that ByuN is being greedy. Not too surprising that his build seems to consist of build a lot of command centers and then build a bunch of Marines. Because much like most of the people watching this, his strategies peaked about 10 years ago. That doesn't mean they don't work, though. As a Terran player, you can pretty much pull out the Prima strategy guide from 2010. You'll see ByuN's face making Marines. Don't know how he does it with his face, but, you know, that Neuralink software has gotten pretty advanced. And speaking of advanced, Protoss has now moved on from shield battery overcharge and has the energy overcharge ability, where once every minute they can drop 100 energy for the cost of 50 energy on the Nexus. They can drop 100 energy on a shield battery or any of their units, like the Sentry, as I think Showtime will be showing us momentarily. It's time to show. And that allows you to get maybe a couple of hallucinated Phoenix later on in the game. Storm helps with Guardian Shield. Now, it does leave you at a bit of an awkward... There we go. Early Phoenix for scouting, giving Protoss an opportunity that they didn't really have. Which, before Protoss scouting was mostly limited to the Adept shoving its ethereal face up against the depot door, trying to get a good whiff of what's going on inside, and then, if you were on top of it, canceling the shade before the Adept died. But now, with the energy overcharge, while you might not be able to defend as many early attacks as efficiently, you will be able to see them coming. Especially if you go for this early sentry play like Showtime has done. But ByuN has a bunch, I know this is going to sound crazy, but ByuN has a bunch of Marines, and he's building a bunker. Showtime didn't even look at the third because ByuN has been so ridiculously greedy. He's stuck his neck out so early, it's really grown into something that he can pretty easily defend. And right now there's 15 Marines. Will Showtime look for it? Indeed he will. He just finds the command center. I don't know if he was thinking about blinking up, but finding a command center and killing a few SCVs certainly doesn't hurt the Protoss. And a hallucinated Phoenix comes through and finds the most ByuN build that he could have ever seen. 3 barracks, 2 tech labs, working on a factory with a reactor and a starport. But overall, not going to be much more than Marines and Marauders for the time being, which means the Blank Stalkers, if the Marines and Marauders come down the ramp and challenge them, are a very effective tool. Unfortunately, ByuN is no tool, nor is he a fool. So, he went to Terran school, and now he knows that Medivacs supply block is not cool. Like and subscribe. I'm not a rep. Well, that's a bunch of Marines and Marauders. And the Blink Stalker's gonna try to whittle it down, but he pre-stims it. Caught a glimpse of him and just goes for it. Men with drugs and guns posing an existential threat to the advanced alien stalkers as they try to pony trot their way back across the map. Hallucinated Phoenix is spotting for exactly this. He knows the map is dark and full of Terrans. He knows that the medevacs are going to come out eventually. And it's very likely, yeah, takes down the observer. Showtime is actively watching for all this. The hallucinated Phoenix is looking for the medevacs, but the medevacs have evaded detection from the Protoss. Showtime, though, he might not be able to see it, but he can smell it. And without a sense of taste, those other senses are just so much stronger. Because they don't have mouths. Hallucinated Phoenix spots the medevacs. Gives a bit of a scare to him, but there's really no way to get down here besides mining through the mineral wall. And so far, only a handful of units have died. But the Marines and Marauders are sprinting their way up to the top right corner where Showtime has boldly taken a Nexus. But maybe a bit too boldly as it gets canceled immediately. The Marauder count. So, I think about now is a relevant time to talk about the Disruptor, which now does significantly less damage, only 100. But it has a larger radius like it did a while ago. So, it no longer one-shots Marauders, but Marines, Mines, Ghosts, all still kills. Technically, it does enough damage against shields to also one-shot Zealots and Stalkers, so that is not a interaction that we're ruling out, even in this matchup. So, the Disruptor generally not as good at breaking armies immediately, but a bit more reliable to actually get hits. We'll see if Showtime actually ends up adding some in, because eventually the Colossi will get countered by the Vikings. But 2 Colossi and no Vikings means a pretty decent position now that Extended Thermal Lance is done. But the double drop from the north side is going to rotate in towards the third. Another double drop heads towards the center. Down goes the 4th Nexus yet again. This time, different location, same story. Force fields will lock in just a couple units. Widowmine is stuck in the little palm trees there. Barely even noticed that one. But again, ByuN is able to wield now a 35 supply lead and knock out the 4th base out of Showtime. I think he's got a 4th command center. No, back it up. No, he does not. So actually no big economic transition. Force fields lock in a couple unlucky units. Vikings are in position. Observer not sieged up, I think, to make it a little bit harder to spot. As ByuN, if he's looking for it, he may catch a glimpse. Wait, what's going on there? What is this? Looks like a fun night. Not sure why they're... How do you see that? Oh my god. Anyways, well, ByuN with his special eyes has specialized and taken down those observers, picks up 3 medevacs, and again, here we go. ByuN picks up and heads towards the main. The rest of the army heading to the top right side. Extended Thermal Lance Colossi. Hallucinated probes looking to clear the minefield. Vikings in position to intercept a Warp Prism, and the medevacs might be able to finish it off. I'm pretty sure he spotted the medevacs with the Prism. Maybe he was thinking about dropping out the Marines. Infantry armor. Level 1 done, complementing infantry weapons level 1. Now we got 3 more racks on the way, because of course we do. We're going up to 8 racks and 2 starports. Hold the factory. As ByuN is looking for all the mobility to try to outmaneuver Showtime. But Showtime has a cannon in his main base. The drop comes out, but the Colossus going to stand tall and melt through. And there's no secondary attack here. There's no kicker to this. Which, in a surprising lack of multi-pronged pressure, ByuN just ends up losing about 20 supply of bio. And it's not like he's transitioning to someone. He's not making like a big battlecruiser switch. He's building the same things. Again. So, maybe just wanted to buy a little space to get his 4th base up, but ByuN a little bit ahead of himself, and now Showtime has closed the supply gap. There are some Vikings on the field. Force field going to try to discourage only mildly inconveniences, but a disruptor shot comes out. An even more dangerous force field, and this time the 5th base now in the center will be canceled without even a shot fired at it. Showtime now has all the bases on the right side of the map, but he's pinned up into the corner while ByuN has now taken the centerline base, added the sensor tower onto it. Costs a lot less, but has less of a radius there, if you're noticing on the minimap. Very observant. Have you observed the like button? Vikings still in production, and 4 medevacs heading for the main. But ByuN kind of telegraphing his moves with the scan, but is going to drop out near the mineral wall. A bit of an awkward one. But Showtime, he doesn't know where the army is. Oh no. And stims in, it's just gateway units, and he's tearing right through them. 2-1 upgrades on either side, but the reinforcements are coming in, and ByuN will be forced back, at least for now. But another attack comes towards the center line. Guardian Shield, Force Field, Vikings over the top. The Disruptors are going to be the only splash damage left over. Comes up empty, but the Vikings are a little far forward. Warps in some Stalkers. This time he's looking to defend. Disruptor shot. The Marauders, if they stim twice, they're softened up enough to still get one shot by the Raptors. So, ByuN, don't do drugs, kids. Well, unless you have a medevac to heal you up immediately, in which case, have at it. Meanwhile, Fusion Core is on the way as ByuN angles. Oh, ho, ho! Big Disruptor hit down the center, softens up the Marauders, and knocks out the Marines. Not a single ghost on the field, besides the ones that I clearly missed, that are now at the center base. The Vikings hit the deck as there's nothing left in the skies to contest. 30 supply in medevacs, looking to potentially flank. ByuN aiming to cut off reinforcements or just go for one of the back bases. We're going to kind of a semi-base trade, potentially. What was down there? I think another Marine on the other side. EMPs land. Ghosts on the front line. Disruptors in a weird spot right now. And the Marauders come in from the back. The Disruptors exposed and will be popped like overripe tomatoes. Only one even fires a shot, but it wasn't to be. Meanwhile, though, Showtime is ripping through the front. SCV's pulled off the line. The Natural is under fire, but the Marauders and Marines are closing in. Production is coming down the ramp. The Zealots have been thinned out, but Warp Prism brings in reinforcements from who knows where. And a few more Zealots will go to the front line. But wait, there's more! Even more Zealots coming in. The Marauders have not yet been healed up. There's no splash damage here for Showtime, which means ByuN will eventually hold. But the Blink Stalkers will be able to evacuate, and Showtime actually managed to turn this into a relatively even fight. After losing those Disruptors early, it looked like Showtime would get collapsed and crushed, but he actually managed to kill 37 SCVs. He has a 30 supply lead at the 13:37 minute mark. He's got the second of the double Ds of destruction, the Dark Shrine on the way, and he's working on his +3 armor. So ByuN is beaten back, but not beaten down. But right now, Showtime has a very tenuous lead. More Zealots on the way. As Showtime leveraging, well, the mules are helping out. And remember, the army supply gap is not nearly as large. 91 to 85. In fact, dead even now. As ByuN sinks everything into rebuilding that army. We have some Zealots. It's going to be +3/3 on either side. Disruptor shot. Very incredibly unlucky Marine gets clipped. ByuN now has 5 bases. Showtime has 6, including the gold base down the center. So, high economies, especially for Showtime. Huge production, especially for Showtime. But still, a tenuous position because this Protoss army is very strong right up until it is. I know it sounds like a cop-out, but if he loses the Raptors or he gets caught in an odd angle, it can crumble. The Terran army as well, incredibly fragile, but known for mobility. 2 Disruptor shots could wipe out a third of ByuN's army supply and leave him without the critical mass he needs to deal with the rest of the Gateway army. By the way, one last thing. The Ghost is now 3 supply, so each of these Ghosts is taking up a little bit more space in the supply count and leaving a little bit less for anything else. And there's a lot of Ghosts out there right now, 8 of them. So, ByuN is getting kind of close to maxing out, but Showtime is more than there. He's maxed out with money in the bank. ByuN actually just chasing across. Another warping of Zealot. Showtime going to move to retreat. Maybe a mistake. A Nexus will be taken down alongside a couple dozen probes. Why is there a Marine back here? Don't question it. Wait, how did you even... Billy! The Vikings. The Warp Prism in an awkward spot. Widowmines as well. Vikings over the top. Colossi added back into the composition. Widowmine, though, hits the Ruptor. A second will be popped, and a huge shot pours out the Ghosts around the corner. The 4th shot did the damage it needed, and without the ghost to soften up the rest of the army, ByuN will be forced into retreat. Shields level 1 about to complete, but the Marauders coming back around. The medevacs haven't really had time to heal. That fusion core has not seen any action. He hasn't gotten Caduceus Reactor. No advanced ballistics either. And no Yamato cannon, technically, if we're really listing things off. Dark Templar Blink is almost completed. The Showtime looks to leverage the economic advantage. Well, the tenuous economic advantage, and continue to spread the Terran army so thinly that he can't concentrate on any one fight at a time. Another couple good disruptor hits, and ByuN could see himself losing at least one base, if not the game. Even though the supplies are what they are, it really feels like Showtime has managed to fight this army heads up and come out slightly ahead over and over. But now ByuN's maxed out again. EMPs landing across the board. Force field. And very shiny force fields. The standoff will continue. Not a singular liberator from ByuN. The crazy changes in the initial version of the patch are not happening. They're just the liberators you know, and very much depending on who you are, love. Alright, another observer. Showtime's managed to reestablish the gold base. The DLC section of the map hasn't really been hit. Was that a Widow Mine? Oh, the repair! The SCVs, it's not enough! The DTs eviscerate the planetary. The SCVs tried their best. It was close. And ByuN starts the building armor upgrades after losing the planetary. Talk about a barn door getting sliced down by a bunch of, like, evil, or well, I guess not evil, alien Jedi. Anyways. All Jedi? Vikings knocking down the Colossi. Another fight. There's a very limited anti-air here. Disruptor shot knocks out a couple retreating units, but ByuN is able to remove the Colossi, but the DTs from the back as well. EMP lands. The DT is a blink away after being revealed by EMP. So far, quite a back and forth. Showtime has lost slightly more resources, and that will be added to with a couple more Dark Templar, but ByuN has actually lost more gas. 152 zealots. That's a lot of zealots. Wow. 25,000 minerals versus 21,000. But 62 to 5,400 gas. Showtime is using those zealots to shove ByuN out of the way. He can't do it forever, but there's still a lot of bases to mine from on this map. The southern portion is only now starting to see a little more action as a disruptor slams into the corner. And ByuN, I looked at his supply for it to plummet, but he started building units that second, so he's still at 200. And the battle will continue, as both sides banking money at 200 supply. And this is where the ghost nerf, the 3 supply ghost, can make the real difference. Right now, there are 7 ghosts on the field. That's another couple liberators that ByuN could have. That's another, almost a medevac drop. It's a small detail, but at this level, small details really add up quickly. EMP's that Colossus in an awkward position, but this bio army starting to get dismantled. Still enough of it to be dangerous up to the north side. And again, ByuN splits his forces to the north and the south. The mineral wall down the center, but the rock tower, the mineral wall was mined out, but the rock towers are still intact. Meanwhile, blinks forward. EMPs wash over the army. Marauders fighting heads up, but eventually the zealots are going to close in. That's a lot of zealots. But ByuN takes out a nexus to the south in turn. Even though the drop gets cleaned up, it was a distraction, a bait, and a switch for the main attack here. Disruptors on the chase, kiting back, concussive shells slowing down the zealots, sentry tickling the medevacs to death. Why are they on hold position? What's going on there? Meanwhile, zealots from the north and south. Oh, he takes down the rocks, and he locks out the army in order to evacuate. And now Showtime is actually stuck He can go through the rocks, of course, but the Liberator, what a Indiana Jones level play. But will it be enough? It'll buy him a few more seconds. But what an escape. Realizing it, that opportunity. ByuN has remaxed out. He's added advanced ballistics to the Liberators. He's got the range. He doesn't have so many Liberators that Showtime can't challenge him. But if the numbers grow too much higher, he's going to need a fleet beacon. The Liberators, a Venn diagram of freedom, but he just cuts right past. The Blink Stalker's helping out so much. Colossi getting hit by the Liberators. The Bio Army engaged in a brawl with the Zealots right now, and the Zealots have Psy Blades for hands. Blink Stalkers are taking out the SCVs. A Warp Prism is also a little late, but thank you for the gesture. And the Liberators... Showtime actually ends the fight at less supply, but he did take out core parts of the... There's still 9 Liberators. That's a lot of Liberators. 9 Liberators on the field. And more in production. He's building 4. Did he get Caduceus Reactor? The Medevac energy regen upgrade? That feels like a massive oversight from ByuN. Not to just queue that up afterwards. As making your Medevacs effectively twice as strong at the Medevac or the med part of things seems like it's worth the 100 they're charging for it, which is 1 Medevac if you're doing math back at home. The Liberator sieges up, trying to get that sneaky angle, but the Stalkers are in position. Showtime will be able to deal with it. He's down to 65. But what a game. Everybody calm down. Interestingly, not a single Templar Archives. Just the Dark Shrine. Oh, the Warp Prism barely escapes. Warp Prism speed definitely down. And we're getting to the point where almost every base... Oh, the doubloon base to the south is taken. Showtime's army evades the sensor tower to fight the planetary, protecting 2 orbitals to the north. ByuN moving into position to actually counterattack as he moves towards the center base. The Zealots and the Stalkers, this looks like a recall situation. He's got to get out. He does. The Stalkers and the Colossi will get out just barely. The EMPs land late. They'll expect some of us in the wreckage, brothers, as the Gateway army is abandoned. But Showtime replenishes. He moved. What am I watching? Whose base is it anyways? Liberators headed north. Command Center headed up, down, all around. Zealots being warped in all over the place. Warp Prism somehow survived long enough to unload into the main. ByuN actually drops the Zealots, picks them back up, says, you know what, this wasn't a great idea. And honestly, where are you going to warp in, Zealots? That base to the south is so important now. Minerals are starting to mine out on the more obvious sides of the map. In the neutral center is now hotly contested. More Zealots warped in, but the Liberator will help out. More Liberators taken down by the Stalkers. Disruptor shot, wards away. Still 2 Colossi with half a Colossus of HP between them. And the Zealots are zoning out, and enough Disruptors to severely discourage ByuN, who's now dropped 40 supply down. The reinforcements could be cut off. He's going for something of a base trade. There's a lot of Medevacs with this army. And Liberators try to siege up again, but ByuN loses track, and another couple Ruptor shots. A double-barrel blast is able to work through. He goes through the mined-out minerals in order to fight. Snipes line up on the Zealots. More Liberators taken down on the rally point. And ByuN on the ropes, trying to fight with everything he has left. But everything he has left is getting melted by Colossi. He's almost out of energy. The Stalkers will... GG! ByuN taps it out as Showtime holds the line. The wall holds as ByuN hits pretty much every single base on the map at some point. But Showtime never took the critical damage that would have cost him the game. What? How are we gonna follow that one up? What a game. 255 Zealots. Nearly 300 Zealots in total, including the ones still on the field. 33 Ghosts died, 109 Marauders. The Disruptors used a pretty great effect. Look at that gas efficiency. 10,900 versus 7,000. Wow. Showtime I wasn't keeping very much track of energy recharge, but it feels like something has shifted just a little. Because Showtime style has always been that sort of, you don't get nicknamed the wall because you're doing a one base all in every game, alright? But with the Ghost nerf, I think combined with the more reliable scouting early, may tilt things a little bit more in favor of the German Protoss, who's always been a very macro-oriented player and now can more reliably do so. And yes, I'm more than willing to read heavily into a single game, but we'll see if he can back it up with a couple more as we go into Whispers of Gold, chrono boosting into Game 2. I don't know what's with my hands today. It's an exciting day. Feel like a charge lot. In mostly running at things I can't catch, but very enthusiastic to do so. That's the important part. I was expecting a good series between these two. They've always... Both of them are... Especially Showtime. But both of them have been at the heart of some of the best games in the history of StarCraft 2. But, again, surprised by how evenly matched. And honestly, I didn't think the Ghost nerf to 3 supply would be that noticeable. I don't think it made a huge impact in the previous game. But having just a few less units, there's so many times when, especially a player like ByuN, is relying on having just a bit too much. Alright, just a bit too much. Just like those drinks last night, right? Well, most of this week, really, but just a bit too much. It overwhelms the gateway units' basic defenses, but with just slightly less in the late game, and that's what we're targeting. And the struggle for Protoss is you're so incredibly reliant on power units, like the Colossus, like the Disruptor, occasionally like the High Templar, though Showtime kind of absconded from that one, that your gateway units are just not good enough to fight even a similar supplied Terran army. But with the Ghost taking up a bit more supply, and the Disruptor, I'm still torn on the Disruptor. So the interesting part there was ByuN is so active, he's hitting the stim so hard. Just one more stim, bro. So Marauders take 20 HP from stim. Marines take 10. It isn't just a flat number, fun fact. To give stim to Ghosts. Nope. Stop. Next patch. So that means 2 stims easily brings them in Disruptor hit range. I think ByuN not really respecting it. And the larger radius means you're more likely to actually get hits. Despite the nerf overall to the damage, they still one-shot Ghosts. And we saw that to great effect. I think that was when the game tilted towards Showtime. It maybe tilted ByuN a bit. When a Disruptor lands and hits like 5 Ghosts, that's a game changer. That's 15 supply right there. So, and whatever Marines were caught in the crossfire. Speaking of Marines, want to take a wild guess at what ByuN has been doing for the last 3 minutes of me pontificating? Did you say, oh, he's doing a crazy mech tip? No, it's Marines and Marauders. And now we have quite an awkward situation because Showtime built a lot of gateway units early. The Stalker builds a little quicker now out of the gateway, not Warp Gate. So you can get a couple more, but he's really pumping out the Stalkers. But who's flanking who? Stim is not quite done yet. Blink is, as he chases down, he chases forward those Blink Stalkers. So, well, 3 more Stalkers warped in. The Stims will run out. Shield battery coming online. He does have energy recharge, potentially for the battery. Now he's just going for the probes here. Oh my god. He's just tearing through everything. He's just running out of Showtime. Only has 37 probes. He can't really afford to lose. Showtime tried to build enough stalkers to fight ByuN heads up. And ByuN just barreled through him. He just threw his men right into the meat grinder and said, as long as I take enough of you heathens with me, it's worth it. And, well, I think it was. Now ByuN has to deal with the counter swing, but he killed 5 stalkers as well as... He didn't go straight for the probes, he killed the stalkers too. And, oh, that's a bit up. Just like that. Thank you for the example. There are 2 bunkers. ByuN knows, he knows what he has, and he has quite a lead. Showtime realizes there are no marauders in the bunkers, so has no respect for them. We'll get a couple SCVs here. Though, really needs a bit more damage than that. He's going for Immortals, which are now 25 minerals less. But they also have 10% less attack speed, so overall I'd call it a nerf. Observers on. I'm still kind of. Occasionally, my brain is trying to recalibrate for the slightly new patch meta, which really isn't established yet. But I'm taking my own notes on what players are liking and why, and new maps, of course. You can probably tell just by the tile set, if not the actual layout. Well. That's pretty much true of most maps. That's a lot of Marines and Marauders. The Robo Bay is only halfway done, which is not enough done to build Colossi or Disruptors. There are 12 Marauders, 16 Marines, and 2 Medevacs against not even remotely close to enough Stalkers. I mean, maybe with some great force fields, he could make the Terrans rethink murdering all the Protoss. Yeah, but wait, there's more! The Medevac's like, hey, wait up! Nope. No, he's super dead. Well, ByuN just walks over and smacks him across the face. And we're all tied up just like that. ByuN with a classic go and kill him strategy. And that'll bring us to effectively a best of 3. As we go into Amygdala. Feelings right now, a bit mixed. I don't think having shield battery overcharge would have solved that particular problem, as that was just way too much Terran to deal with. But, game 3. This map has, well, this map brought to you by Dustin Browder. Destructible rocks must be killed or the gold base mined out before you can access the entire site. Look at this probe path. You have to go all the way around on either side, or fly over or teleport, of course, but it's quite a journey. There and back again, a probe story. Well, not always back again. Is he actually going to try to wall off both Reaper cliffs? There are 2 Reaper jump locations. So that, it does seem optimistic, but Showtime does seem intent on it. So far, ByuN has not bothered with a single Reaper. I wonder how much of that is... I wonder how much of that is the new maps, how much of that is the Stalker being a little quicker, and how much of that is just a stylistic change in Terran openers. I would have said something about the new Cyclone, the new Cyclone, but this is the first time ByuN has built a factory before like the 4-minute mark, so now we can talk about it, I guess. I think it's like... Wait, does he have 2 gas? He just started on 2 gas, so we're not guaranteed to see a Cyclone here. But the likelihood is much higher than when he has 3 racks, so... Nope, little mines. Energy recharge on the sentry. And what? The stalker just walks up. Sir, this is private property. Ah, we don't mind. Burrows. Will we try to use it against the Marines? So it's clearly scouting. But it's a Widow Mine drop. This is... The more I think about it, the more clear it is a dramatic shift in Protoss versus Terran early game. Specifically on that side of the matchup. Because again, before to go for a sentry was a risk. Because you still had to wait another 20-30 seconds to get one hallucination. Now you can get two almost immediately. And also, shield battery overcharge does nothing against Widow Mine drops. Because Widow Mines one-shot pretty much every unit that you can have before the Widow Mines come in. Especially probes. So, having the energy recharge to scout it does seem like a superior option. But of course, that doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to get something done. The ritual sacrifice of a probe. Oh! He gets it. The mine taken out. And so far... Oh, the medevac comes back in for more. The sacrifice is offered up. He's going to try to get out. And very lucky he did so 2 seconds before blink completed. Not sure if he spotted the Raven with the hallucinated Phoenix. Though moving out onto the field may incidentally get a hold of it. That's actually huge. The blink, and he knocks nevermore, says Showtime. Metaphorically, of course. No mouth with which to balance wine. That explains some of the changes. Blink Stalkers, ready to poke and prod at any Marines moving out. Moves a single Stalker forward in order to eat the tank hit. Just take shield damage, and then gets a Marine. Very little detail micro, but still nicely done. Robobay, Forge, charge is on the way. We've got Stim and +1 for ByuN, who's working on his 3rd command center now. He's got his 2 medevacs on the way. How many siege tanks? 2 of them. They're likely going to be headed out alongside the Marines and soon to be Marauders. Meanwhile, Showtime has 60 probes, and he's got a gold, not a gold base, a 3rd base. The gold base, you actually have to take down a set of rocks in order to unlock. I guess unless you take it from the other side, but then you have to take down a set of rocks to get there. Or float it over, I guess. Medevac patrolling. Observer spotting. Double drop actually loaded up. Instead of moving out with a direct attack, this map is so large. I'm not surprised ByuN is just kind of avoiding a more long-winded approach and instead favoring a air-based booster one. I don't know, that wasn't as clever as I was hoping it would be. Sometimes I get into a sentence and I don't know how it'll end, and I just hope for the best. And usually it goes okay, but sometimes it don't. The rocks will take withering fire from all but one conscientious objector tank. And ByuN, you know what? I thought I was making a bit of a joke about that too, but ByuN is taking the gold as his 3rd. I think that's why he didn't want to risk the tanks, as this location is much easier to defend with several siege tanks, as Otherwise, your opponent can get on the other side of the minerals and start roasting SCVs. The siege tanks will do a lot to prevent that from happening. Showtime taking the 6 o'clock location as ByuN establishes the center gold. Extended thermal lance is completing. As Showtime kind of moves out on the map, make sure he has vision of everywhere that ByuN isn't and keeps tabs on where he is. Ground weapons level 1 now for Showtime. He's got 2 forges plus 1 armor on the way. Second robotics facility as well. He's been really relying on these robo units, and they've been paying off for him. But will that continue to be? Oh my! Well, the siege tanks doing what they do best, shelling from afar. ByuN gonna reposition the tanks in a bit of a safer location, even with extended thermal lance. Oh, he's gonna. He's tiptoeing up to try to get the thermal lances. The medevacs, what is this standoff here? The Koprulu showdown. Where the SCVs, why are you stimming? The SCVs in the Marine, incinerating another half dozen. 13 SCV kills by Showtime's Colossi. As the tanks are forced to move up a little further. But honestly, this barbecue is really paying off. So the Colossi have had their HP and shield shifted. It used to be 150 shields, 200 HP. Now it has 100 shields and 250 HP. That does mean they're a little tankier in a direct fight. Ooh, maybe select all army hotkey from ByuN. Finally, the medevac came back. Though, since Protoss doesn't believe in the right to repair, if they do take damage, it's harder to come back from that. But generally, this makes them a little tankier in a heads-up fight. It could be considered a buff in many ways, especially if there's no EMP quite yet. So, ooh, some hallucinated zealots there. I'm not sure how intentional that is. That command center is definitely not helping ByuN, funneling through the flames of extended thermal lance. 1-1 is now done. Showtime, equal on upgrades, gonna try to roast his way through the siege tanks. Force fields, not entirely convinced those are helping more than hurting, as the zealots have to funnel their way through, and Showtime having a tough time showing the strength of this army. The disruptor comes up though. He's able to snipe it off. ByuN holding. Showtime is right on the edge of overextending, but he manages to take quite a solid fight, and behind it, he's got another base, a 5th base, completing. He's got +3, +2 on the way. He will be left with something of an upgrade advantage, and ByuN did not crush the key components of the army. He only held his ground. So there are still Colossi, still Ruptors, and no realistic opportunity for ByuN to just go sprinting across the map, both because of how the map is laid out and because of his unit composition. And again, the SCVs are under fire in every sense of the word. Ship weapons level 1 is completed. Those Colossi doing such a great job for Showtime. More gateways coming online. He's going to have 10, going up to a dozen. A Shrine to Dark as well. And we're going to the Octo Racks in a second starboard for ByuN. But this time around, instead of being about even, Showtime has a distinct advantage in supply, in upgrades, and in economy. So, will he be able to capitalize on it before ByuN can stabilize on a stronger late-game Terran army? He was able to play from even to ahead, and now he's starting from a lead. Starting is not exactly the right term, but for sake of brevity here. There are 5 disruptors underneath. ByuN building his first ghost now, but it's a fully operational late-game Protoss army. He's maxed out. He's got a warp prism with the disruptors can ward away. Another Viking gets knocked down. Disruptor comes up short, but more Vikings could get picked off. And those Colossi, really just the backbone of the army. The Disruptors fires off a volley across the board, broadside, cores out the army. EMPs help out a lot. The disruptors were mostly knocked out. 2 of them survived that. And Showtime warps in another round and maintains a 40 supply lead. And he's at 200, so it can't get any larger. Those Colossi still alive. Regenning the shields. The Vikings in an awkward position to engage this. Disruptor wandering into the fray. He's able to take it out. Tank will tank some of the damage, but Disruptor shot catches him up against the Ghost Academy. And the confirmed kills are there. Showtime maintains 200 supply. The Zealotlings are warped in. And ByuN types 3 Gs. And brings us to Game 4. Showtime capitalizing on that lead very efficiently. And even with the less deadly disruptors, they're still incredibly dangerous. He's able to easily bring us. Well, now he's on match point. Showtime playing some incredible StarCraft here. And ByuN feels like ByuN is still playing, well, I said it at the start endearingly, but now I'm saying it critically. ByuN is playing the same builds from years ago. Whether it's 5 or 10 or 3 years ago. Meanwhile, Showtime is adapting. It's a similar style, but between the early scouting and the timing of the robos and the use of Colossi, not that it's a new and unique thing, but it's certainly been a buff to his playstyle overall. We'll see if ByuN can bounce back yet again. But coming up short on Amygdala. We're going to Ultra Love. Quite a psychedelic map. And the Ultra got some love this patch as well. Now able to push its friends out of the way. Not just emotionally, but physically as well. Just like most people who play StarCraft 2 for too long. But no Zergs here. At least for now. ByuN seems to have entirely abandoned the Reaper first in this matchup, in favor of going for either 1-Rex expand into Marines or just a factory. But the Reaper fallen by the wayside for now. What's it going to be from Showtime? He's stuck with the Blink Stalkers in every game, no matter which way it's gone. And they've mostly served him well, but it's so reliant on maintaining that early control. You desperately need to stop the Marines and Marauders or what have you, the Widow Mines, from getting in your base and killing all your probes. Or at least enough of your probes to cripple you when it comes to whatever the follow-up attack ends up being. Interesting on adding this extra pylon here. I think more of just kind of a scouting pylon, and also it gets surprisingly crowded at the Protoss base as time goes on. Having some real estate for gateway zoning is a surprisingly important part of the matchup. And so many times Protoss can get bogged down just trying to slap down some more gateways. They end up without enough production. A single mine, and then slapping the tech lab on the factory. Wait, no, 2 mines. There are 2 Widow Mines in this picture. Do you know where the second one is? Because I don't. Where is that? Ah! It was behind the stump! Of course it was. Where is that hallucinated Phoenix? Energy recharge is not on cooldown, so it looks like this time around Showtime opting to sink more into the Chrono Boost on Blink as opposed to going for the hallucinated... Whoa, okay. ByuN. Do it. Flying straight towards the Stalkers. Reacts in time before he takes any damage. The medevac trying to throw off the scent. It comes in again. Drops out of mine. The sacrifice is offered and accepted. And he goes off into the psychedelic lightning storm or whatever it is back there. That's crazy. What is going on? Speaking of storm, not only have we not seen Storm, but we haven't even seen a Templar Archives this entire series. And we've had every opportunity, so... Very interesting. Not that it seems to be hurting Showtime. You would have thought that with a significant buff to early energy or having extra energy, you would see more Storm, but it's just not a reliable option so much of the time in this matchup. Medevacs exist. Storms rarely outright kill units that aren't Marines that have stimmed a few too many times. And you know what else is important? Making sure I look dumb. Because Showtime, for the first time, will be showing us the Templar Archives. I got all the way through that whole explanation without realizing there was a Templar Archives in production. So here we are. There are 8 Stalkers on the map. There are 1 Adepts and 1 Sentries. He warps at a Templar, which immediately dies. And where were we on the saying Storm was not really a great option because it just isn't very reliable early? Yeah, I'm going back to that. That's my stand. Yeah. And Exhibit A. ByuN just wins because spending another 200 gas on Storm and then another 150 on Templar and another 150 on the Templar Archives is a bit of an investment when they can just walk up with Marines and tanks. He tried, but it just very clearly does not pan out. And that brings us to match point. ByuN just walks up and kills him. Well, that seems to be kind of the trend. If the game goes to, well, over 100 supply or so, Showtime has a real shot at it. But if the early game does not go particularly well, it's likely because ByuN has just walked over and put the Protoss out to pasture. So, ley lines will be our final map between these two titans. Showtime has historically, I'm gonna jinx it here, he's historically been one of the best losers in all of StarCraft 2. He has been the feature of so many games of the year, of the day, of so many incredible series. But the vast, maybe not the vast, but the majority of the time, he's on the losing end. So, he has another opportunity here to solidify that position. ByuN, much the opposite. Many of ByuN's historic highlight moments come not from losing, but from him turning a game around that looked like it had no ability to do so in the first place. That or just looking like he's going to get units nerfed individually. So, we will see. Jimmy! And also, do you think they, like, ByuN is on the bottom of the map? Should he be on the bottom of the nameplates? Yeah, I know he's on the left, like left to right. It's kind of confusing. Should ByuN be on the top side of the nameplates here because he's on the left side of the map, but he's on the bottom side of the map too. I like the left to right. Unless it's literally a spawn at the top left and bottom right. I think left to right goes before. It feels a little different on each map. But I'm leaning towards the left to right. These are the important questions. Alright, a Reaper! And a Reaper wall, but he spots the Twilight Council being chrono boosted. So... well, unlikely to miss Blink here. And ByuN, in a new crazy turn of events, is going for 3 command centers. And instead of 3 racks, he's got an engineering bay. Well... so instead of having a few more Marines and Marauders, he's opting for a few better, or somewhat better Marines and Marauders. This is less of an all-in strategy, obviously because he has a 3rd command center as well. It has a bit more longevity. It suffers very slightly from just not having as many units. So we will see. Showtime, in his typical response, is less, I want to kill you now, and more, I guess I can get away with a little bit more. So he goes for that 3rd Nexus relatively quickly. Of course, he's not going to be any quicker than ByuN's 3rd command center, which is already completed, you greedy devil. Takes a look around and spots the factory timing as well as the 3rd racks. Showtime has a great bead on exactly what this is. And it's scary, but it's also very manageable. The Blink Stalkers, with very active micro, can definitely make a dent in ByuN's composition and set Showtime up for a transition maybe into Colossi, or at least getting charge lots to follow it up and actually combat the Marines, Marauders, and Medevacs. And getting in there before the bunker, he's going to get a Marine. The Marauders come up to fight directly. He may be able to pick one off, not quite. But these are very thin margins. In these sorts of fights. 1 or 2 Stalkers or 1 or 2 Marauders could tilt the next few minutes of the game significantly. So... Robo Bay is on the way. Forge as well. Charge will be the choice. Well, it's usually the choice. The question is how committed you are to it. Like, are you going to use it as cover, or is it your end goal? And, of course, Showtime is thinking of the much larger picture, and nothing's much larger than Colossi. So, Robo Bay. And I love the planning and how he sets up his base. His Protoss architecture is kind of second to none. Maybe Max Pack's up there, but nobody knows how to build like the wall. The Blink Stalkers, 4 or 5 Marines. He does end up losing 2, and that's before concussive shells is completed. Again, Showtime setting up that kind of visual perimeter. Doing an ocular pat down of the map, if you would. Making sure he's got spylons and observers. Just keeping tabs on the Terrans. Oh, the medevac. Oh, very important not to lose that. But also very important to get those Stalkers out of there. ByuN now. A dangerous army. Gotta be careful that... oh, gets tagged by one of the Marauders. Another one. Blinks away. ByuN. Now ambling across the field. Extended thermal lance will not be done. Charge should be completed momentarily. The double drop is loaded up. ByuN spots the army. And this is the most dangerous moment for Showtime. Before he gets his thermal lens, his upgrades, his 4th base. Oh, the double drop is spotted. Showtime certainly sees it. And... oh, beautiful force fields. He locks it in, chases down. Another army will be coming up, but there's an opportunity potentially to recall to the natural, but there's a Colossus standing tall on defense. He goes for it, but the charge lot's out in front, slicing through the Marauders. He may kill it, but here comes a recall over to the 3rd base. Does he have enough to actually blink and chase this down? It's possible. Observer will be taken down. He clearly spotted it, because otherwise, why was he so prepared? But Showtime manages to box all this out, chasing down the medevac. And charge lots on the ground. Oh, hallucinated Phoenix pops out to eat the Widowmine hit. Showtime again. Just stiff arms, both medevac drops, and now he has a tenuous lead when it comes to army composition because ByuN, not only did he get thrown back, but Showtime took a 4th base during all this. He has the economy to not only keep this unit composition, but progress it further. Whereas ByuN, with mules, he has the economy to compete for now. But taking a 4th base with less supply, or even kind of close to equal with a Protoss, is going to be very difficult. Another army coming out. He's wrapping around again. The Colossi, just 2 Vikings. Softening up force fields, locking a couple Marauders. He pulls back the charge lots. And they will be taken out. Maneuvering well. Colossi over the top of the force fields. Charge lots. It's, again, Showtime is knocking on the door in one of those situations that could go horribly wrong, but he's tiptoeing at the very edge of the line, and now the Guardian Shield protecting most of the Zealots, though the Widowmines are softening up a lot. Mitigates one of them. The boys are pulled. The Vikings are fighting, but again, targeting the Vikings. Vikings able to do a lot of the damage to one Colossus, but with that extra HP, still relatively healthy. Colossus 11 kills, only 4, but the amount of damage they've added in. The medevacs are entirely out of energy. And these sentries still have Guardian Shield. He comes in for more. EMP lands on the Zealots, but that's not going to do too much. An awkward fight tries to pick off some more Vikings. Colossi, as usual, distracted by the supply depots. Like catnip for Colossi. But a Disruptor comes up. +2 armor just completed for ByuN. He's working on +2 weapons, but the fight has already begun. Another Colossus, but the Disruptor goes completely long, and he pops it anyways. All right. Showtime maintaining this position. He has a 5th base on the way. He's rallying robo units across the map. ByuN does not have enough energy on his medevacs. His units are not healed. They're in autumn colors. And it might be too much as the extended thermal lamps Colossi are immolating the front line. The Stalkers are helping to box out. He breaks through the Zealots, but a Disruptor comes around the corner, comes up empty, but still the Colossi. Force fields, GG! Showtime holds. He's able to break through ByuN's defense. The Colossi, the fulcrum of everything there. And he's able to leverage them towards a victory. ByuN unable to knock down the Colossi. And I am willing to make a rare statement and say, you know, maybe I was wrong. Maybe shifting 50 HP and shields on the Colossus was kind of a big deal. I do think it's a little more of players really focusing on the Colossus as a potential option because of the Disruptor nerf. But at the same time, it does seem to be just a little tankier because it has a base armor, and that way it benefits from armor upgrades. Shield upgrades help, but shields have 0 armor to start. So the Colossus being able to just tank those extra hits from the Vikings, maybe from the Marauders, and especially the Marines, definitely helping out. He ends up with 14 kills, 22 kills. And the Disruptors are still a very dangerous force. And Showtime is so good at keeping those sentries from start to finish. The Guardian Shield's helping out. ByuN, he played the same old Terran. And Showtime has an upgraded Protoss. A well-deserved victory, though a hard-fought one from start to finish. That was my favorite series of the new patch so far. And I think one that really demonstrates the small but noticeable changes. Not sure if it'll continue to be that sort of tenuous meta. But either way, I hope it made your day a little bit better. Thank you to Wardy for putting on the tournament on the PTR. Make sure to check them out. Link in the description as well. Otherwise, if you got the means of motivation, it'd be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free. At least for now. So, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.